My name is Jayden, and what I'm about to share with you is my near-death experience testimony of what happened when Jesus revealed the shocking truth about Black people. I literally journeyed to the brink of death and witnessed mysteries beyond life, and that experience completely transformed my understanding of identity, heritage, and spiritual destiny of the Black people. It was an ordinary Thursday night. I'd just finished up a late study session at a friend's house, and I was riding home on my cousin's beat-up sedan. The rain was coming down in heavy sheets, and I was cranking the radio, something mellow, trying to calm my stressed-out mind. I remember thinking about homework, my uncertain plans for college, and just the usual stuff that goes through your head when you're 16 and trying to figure out life. I was driving along a quiet road on the edge of town. The streetlights were reflecting off the wet asphalt, creating these blurry, colorful streaks. I was lost in thought when, out of nowhere, everything went sideways. One second I was cruising along, and the next, I was slammed into by another car. There was this awful crunch, glass shattered, and I felt a jolt that knocked the wind out of me. I don't remember much after that point. 1 minute, I was gripping the wheel so tight it hurt, and the next, I was slumped over, blood mingling with rainwater on the pavement. It was surreal. I could hear sirens in the distance and muffled voices, but I wasn't really there. I wasn't scared. In fact, a strange calm took over me. I realized I was dying. I guess the first thing I noticed was how quiet it all became. The roar of the car, the crash, it all faded into silence. Suddenly, I wasn't in that car anymore. I was floating. I remember looking down at my own body on the wet road, as if I were watching a movie. I couldn't speak or move. I was completely weightless. Then there was this pull. It wasn't like gravity or anything physical. It was more like an invitation, a call that tugged at my soul. I felt myself rising upward through the darkness, and the closer I got, the more everything around me started to change. The relentless rain and the chaos of that accident scene began to fade away, replaced by a light so pure and inviting I'd never seen before. I don't know how to explain it exactly, but the light wasn't harsh or blinding. It was warm, like a big, comforting hug. The further I moved from the accident scene, the heavier the weight of pain and fear lifted from me. I wasn't scared anymore, I just felt this deep sense of peace. And then I saw him. Jesus was standing there in the midst of that light. I mean, not like in a church painting, but as a real living presence. He wasn't in robes or anything overly grand, he just exuded a calm strength. His eyes were something else. They were gentle but powerful, like they could see every secret of your heart. When he looked at me, I felt like every worry, every ounce of pain, just melted away. He spoke, but not in a booming voice like you'd expect. It was soft, almost like a whisper meant only for me. "Jayden, it's not your time yet," he said, and I swear, I could feel those words resonating deep inside me, like they were written in my soul. For what felt like hours, I found myself in this surreal conversation with Jesus. And trust me, it wasn't some rehearsed sermon. It was like chatting with your best friend who somehow knows all your secrets, your dreams, and your deepest fears. I remember asking him a million questions. Why me? What's happening? How do I get back? But every time I tried to speak, the words felt too small compared to what he was trying to show me. He didn't need to use big words. Instead, he started showing me things, visions, memories, images that I'd never even imagined. And what he showed me about Black people, it was like opening a secret door into a history I never knew existed. Jesus led me to this incredible vision where I saw a breathtaking panorama of Africa. I saw endless plains, lush forests, and mighty rivers that shimmered under a golden light. It wasn't just nature though, it was a whole civilization. I saw great cities filled with vibrant people, brilliant scholars, and wise elders. These were people who were connected to the divine, who possessed a deep spiritual wisdom that had been passed down for centuries. Jesus explained, in that calm, steady tone, that Black people weren't meant to be seen as broken or oppressed. They were the guardians of divine knowledge, he said. Black people's ancestors built empires, mastered art and science, and held secrets of the universe that many have tried to erase. I couldn't believe it. Here I was, a kid who'd grown up hearing one version of history, and now I was being shown a truth that was hidden from so many. He showed me images of ancient kings and queens, leaders who ruled with wisdom and power, not with brute force. I saw ceremonies filled with music, dance, and stories that carried the weight of centuries. I saw people who weren't just surviving, but thriving, in a connection with something greater than themselves. The more I saw, the more I realized that the history we were taught was only half the story, a story that had been twisted to diminish the beauty and strength of the people who were chosen long ago. Jesus didn't stop at showing me the glory, though. He took me deeper into the vision, into the pain and injustice that had been inflicted over the years. I saw scenes of chains, of families being torn apart, of people forced onto ships bound for an unknown future. But even in those dark moments, there was an undercurrent of defiance, a spark of resilience that refused to be snuffed out. He told me, they were oppressed not just physically but spiritually, Jayden. Their heritage was hidden because those in power were afraid of the truth that if everyone remembered who they truly were, the world would change. I felt my heart pounding as I absorbed every word. It was like a weight was lifted from my shoulders, the realization that the struggles of the past were not meant to define us, but to empower us to reclaim our true identity. In that timeless space, I found myself sitting beside Jesus in what looked like a vast hall of light. There were no walls, no ceilings, just an endless expanse where every sensation was heightened. I remember leaning in as if my very existence depended on catching every word. Jesus, I said, why would anyone want to hide something so beautiful? Why suppress the truth of the Black people's greatness? He replied, because power thrives on ignorance. The ones who ruled over Black people needed to keep that divine knowledge locked away, to control them, to make them feel less than what they truly are. It was like a light bulb went off in my head. I'd always felt a strange disconnect, a feeling that there was more to their story than what I'd been taught in school. Now, sitting here with Jesus, it all clicked. The rich tapestry of Black people history, the wisdom of their ancestors, was hidden away so that a false narrative could dominate. But that narrative is breaking, Jayden. The time for awakening is here. He went on to show me symbols, ancient texts, and images of gatherings where people celebrated their identity with a fervor that was almost palpable. I saw elders teaching the younger generation in secret, passing down stories that carried the spark of their divine origin. I watched as communities united, not just to survive, but to rise and reclaim their legacy. Every image, every word, filled me with a fire I'd never known before. The conversation with Jesus felt like a promise that despite all the lies and the suppression, the truth was unstoppable. Black people, he said, were never meant to fade into the background. They are the heartbeat of a divine legacy. Their wisdom, their resilience, and their spiritual power are the very keys to a future where everyone can stand tall and proud. I remember feeling overwhelmed by a mixture of emotions, anger at the injustice, pride for the beauty of their history, and hope for a future that was finally taking shape. Every question I asked was met with an answer that wasn't just informative, it was transformative. It was like each revelation was stitching together parts of a puzzle that I never even knew was missing. There were moments when I felt like crying, not because of sadness, but because the truth was so powerful it nearly took my breath away. I asked, Jesus, how do we make sure that everyone remembers this? How do we break these chains that have been around for so long? His eyes softened, and he replied, it begins with you, Jayden. Every time you speak your truth, every time you share what you've seen, you're planting a seed. A single spark can start a fire that spreads far beyond what you can imagine. And that's what I held on to, the belief that my experience wasn't just meant for me. It was meant to be shared with every person who's ever doubted their worth, every person whose story has been hidden by a lie. The vision wasn't just about remembering the past, it was a call to action. It was a call to reclaim the identity and to ignite a revolution of understanding, unity, and spiritual empowerment. As I sat there with Jesus in that luminous space, he began to take me deeper into the very essence of what it meant to be connected to Black people's heritage. I saw a massive tree, the kind of tree that seems to have grown for centuries, its roots tangled deep into the earth and its branches reaching out like open arms. This tree, he said, represents the lineage of Black people. Its roots hold the ancient wisdom, and its branches are the future, unyielding and strong. No matter what storms come, the tree remains, a testament to resilience and the power of truth. I spent what felt like an eternity absorbing that vision. I could almost feel the texture of the bark, the gentle rustle of the leaves in a breeze that carried centuries of whispered secrets. I asked him, how do I carry this truth back to the world that's so caught up in its own noise and distractions? He leaned forward and said, by living it. Let your life be a testament to what you've seen. Every act of kindness, every word of truth, will contribute to a future where the light of Black people's heritage burns brighter than any darkness. It wasn't just an intellectual understanding, it was visceral. I felt my entire being come alive with the weight of this revelation. The anger at injustice, the sorrow for the centuries of hidden truth, and the hope for a rebirth of spirit all collided into one overwhelming sense of purpose. I knew then that my life was forever changed. I could still hear Jesus' voice echoing in that endless expanse of light as we continued to talk. I remember one exchange so clearly it's like it happened just moments ago. I asked, what about those who have tried to keep this truth hidden, who have built systems on lies? How do we break free from their grip? Because truth is stronger than any lie, he said. No chain, no matter how heavy, can hold back the spirit that is meant to be free. Black people have been kept down for far too long. It is time for that to end. The awakening starts with each individual remembering who they truly are. Every word was like a lifeline thrown to me, pulling me deeper into a realization that Black people were not defined by the scars of the past, but by the divine spark within me, a spark that had been passed down through generations of resilient souls. I remember nodding, even though I couldn't see myself, because every part of me knew that Jesus was speaking a truth that needed to be shared. For what felt like hours, I was immersed in that dialogue, one that stretched the boundaries of time and space. I was shown countless images of Black people rising, reclaiming lost knowledge, and embracing a heritage that was nothing short of miraculous. Every vision reinforced the idea that Black people's history was not one of victimhood, but of immense power and wisdom. It was a call to awaken to the truth that had been hidden by centuries of deliberate suppression. Jesus' final words in that sacred space still ring in my ears. Jayden, remember, every time you choose to speak your truth, you add your light to a growing flame. You are not alone in this fight. The spirits of Black people stand with you, and I will always be by your side. I felt a warmth spread through me, a warmth that wasn't just physical but spiritual, a reminder that I was never truly abandoned. I can't even begin to explain how full of hope I felt as our conversation wound down. The immense responsibility of carrying this truth was daunting, but it was also a blessing. I realized that my experience wasn't just a personal awakening, it was a spark meant to ignite change, to bring to light a history that had been buried under lies and neglect. In that timeless moment, every doubt faded away, replaced by a certainty that I had been chosen to carry this message. I made a promise to myself that I would never let this truth be silenced. I would share it in every way possible, no matter how harsh or dismissive the world might be. Every part of my being vibrated with that promise. I blinked, and suddenly I was back. One moment I was in that vast realm of light, and the next I was waking up in a hospital bed. I remember the beeping of machines, the cold touch of hospital sheets, and the anxious faces of my family hovering over me. I had physically come back, but my mind was still racing with the revelations of my journey. The doctors told me it was nothing short of a miracle that I survived, but all I could think about was the conversation I'd had with Jesus, the secrets of Black people, the beauty of their ancient heritage, and the call to awaken a forgotten history. I felt like I had been given a second life, a chance to set the record straight about who we really are. Even in that sterile, buzzing hospital room, my heart was on fire with purpose. Over the next few days, I struggled to fit back into a world that suddenly seemed so small and mundane compared to what I had experienced. My friends noticed I was different. I was quieter, more reflective, sometimes even lost in thought as if I were listening to something only I could hear. I began scribbling down every detail in my journal, desperate to capture the overwhelming sense of truth that had changed me forever. Although I returned to life physically, a piece of me remained in that luminous space. I kept feeling Jesus' presence, a comforting reminder that I wasn't alone, and that the mission I'd been given was far from over. This is my testimony, from the night I almost lost my life, to the mind-blowing journey with Jesus, to the bittersweet return to a world that still has so much to learn. I know it sounds unbelievable, but every word is true to my experience. I'm here now with a fire in my heart, ready to share the revelation that Black people's history is a story of divine brilliance, a story that's been hidden for far too long and must finally be told. If you're watching this, I hope you feel even a fraction of the passion and purpose I do. I'm not asking you to take my word for it, just let the truth resonate with you. After all, sometimes it takes one spark to start a revolution, and I believe that revolution starts with us.